What if the only thing standing between freedom and the tyranny of the world was an old man with a cigar in his hand and a deep, confident voice? As all of Europe collapsed under Nazi rule, only one nation remained standing. And one name held the world's last hope: Winston Churchill. The London sky darkened as the terrible news spread. Nazi forces had conquered France, and all of Europe was falling piece by piece to Hitler. As fear crept into the hearts of the British people, an old man stood before Parliament. In a dark suit, a Homburg hat, and a cigar in his lips, his voice echoed resolutely through the anxious chamber. "We shall fight on the beaches," he declared. "We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall never surrender." That was Winston Churchill, the man who would later be called the Old Lion of England, a leader who led not only with strategy, but also with words and courage. Churchill was not born a hero. He grew up in an aristocratic family, but at school he was often labeled lazy and unruly. Many teachers considered him hopeless. But beneath that, Churchill possessed something stronger than academic brilliance: an indomitable spirit. After graduating from Sandhurst Military Academy, he traveled the world as a soldier and war journalist. From the battlefields of India to the Boer War in South Africa, he wrote daring reports and sometimes took direct part in firefights. He was even captured during the Boer War and escaped by foot hundreds of kilometers through enemy territory. From there, his reputation as a true warrior began to emerge. In politics, Churchill was an unpredictable storm. He initially joined the Conservative Party, then switched to the Liberal Party, then returned to the Conservatives. He was known for his intelligence, stubbornness, and frequent controversy. While serving as First Lord of the Admiralty during World War I, he devised a strategy for the invasion of Gallipoli that ended in disastrous failure and thousands of casualties. He was forced to resign and was seen as a failure. But Churchill was not the type to quit because of ridicule. He knew his time would come again. And when the world was once again engulfed in World War II, his time had truly come. In 1940, as Britain stood alone against the Nazis, Churchill was appointed Prime Minister. Britain was in dire straits. Resources were limited, morale was low, and the threat of invasion loomed. But Churchill possessed something Hitler lacked: the undying spirit of the people. With passionate speeches, he ignited hope and reignited the courage of his nation. He didn't hide as the city was bombed. He walked through the ruins of London, greeting the victims, doffing his hat to homeless mothers, and hugging crying children. When America and the Soviet Union finally entered the war, Churchill remained at the forefront of diplomacy. He was not only a military leader, but also a moral unifier of the free world. After the war was over and victory was secured, the people chose a new leader. Churchill lost the 1945 election, but he remains remembered as the greatest figure in British history. He returned as Prime Minister a few years later, but his health began to decline, and he eventually retired from politics. In his later years, Churchill devoted his time to writing. He wrote history books, including The Second World War and A History of the English-Speaking Peoples. His writings were so influential that he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1953. He remains the only major politician ever to receive the world's highest literary honor. Churchill died in 1965 at the age of 90. Britain honored him with state honors, a tribute rarely afforded to a civilian. Big Ben was silenced, and the world paused. A historical giant had passed away. But his message lives on today. Not only as a wartime leader, but as a symbol of the courage to stand when the world falls apart. As he said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And with those words, Winston Churchill's name will always be remembered, not only in history books, but in the hearts of all who have braved the storm.